KSAP Beats.
Yo, it's time to get wired in with that Pavelli. It's 2020. It's a new year and a new decade, and let's get wired in for the next 10 years. Well, at least for this episode. So, this is the first podcast of the year, of the decade, and I'm just gonna pretty much just freestyle it. No specific topic. I'm just pretty much gonna reflect. Maybe talk about the future, talk about maybe some of my goals for the next decade, next year. I don't really do New Year's resolutions. I feel like every day should be a resolution. You should strive to be better every day. Another year is really essentially another day, but it is a milestone, so I understand the significance and why people, want to set New Year goals or start the new year strong. But I think the way we approach the new year, we should approach every day like it's a new year. So always set goals and resolutions every day to strive to get better. So 2020, wow. 10 years ago is actually around the time I really made the decision to start that I wanted to become a programmer. That was 10 years ago, 2010. Wow, time flies. 2009 is when I took my first course. It was the fall of 2009, and it was a C++ class, and I said, I don't want to do this. This is too hard. I wanted something easy. And, I think I talked about this in the first episode. Long story short, I saw The Social Network. Was kind of in a little funk because, you sign up for college, and from my experience, I started panicking like, oh, what about the jobs? What about experience? Because you start looking at job postings and you're not learning the skills you need to get a job. And I said, you know what? I got to figure out what I'm going to do. This degree is just going to be a foot in the door. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to give this programming thing a shot. Now, honestly, I think the reason why I fell in love with programming is because I picked it up. I was introduced to it in college, but I picked it up pretty much on my own because I was taking 8-week courses. You really don't have time to really process and learn what you need to learn. It's like you just got to hurry up and get the assignments done by a certain date. So I had time to really get really good at the craft and practice, and I'm still practicing to this day. There's still a lot to learn. A lot has changed in the last 10 years. I remember when I decided to really pursue programming, it was 2010, I think 2011. I was taking more programming courses, and my counselor, she said, you have two choices. You can pick Java or COBOL. I didn't know what the hell COBOL was, but I had heard of Java, so I said, I'll stick with Java. And I'm glad I made that decision. So I was introduced to Java, in college. I just learned the basic, creating desktop swing applications, writing console applications. I didn't really learn enterprise development until my first job. So that was cool. But I'm glad I didn't pick COBOL. And don't get me wrong, COBOL, I believe a lot of companies are still looking for COBOL developers. So, but I just didn't. Something in my gut told me to pick Java, and I'm glad. And now a lot of people are arguing and say Java has become the new COBOL. This is, 10 years ago, Java's the hottest language, and it's still pretty popular in the enterprise, Android. But even Google, they're switching to Kotlin as the main language. And so that says a lot. Things have changed a lot. Programming languages have become a lot more simple to use and easier for people to grasp. And anybody can pretty much write code now. There's still challenges, but a lot of things are abstracted. There are a lot of frameworks, but no matter how many frameworks you know or how much is abstracted, you need to know the core language itself. So if you're learning Angular, you need to understand core JavaScript. If you're learning a C++ library, you need to learn core C++. If you're learning Spring, you need to learn core Java. If you're learning the Zen framework, what's another framework, PHP framework that people use? I can't think of it right now. Oh, I think Laravel. You use that, learn core PHP. You always have to learn the core, or should learn the core. But I think it's cool how programming has evolved. A lot of people who didn't think they could code are coders now. It's created a lot of opportunities for people, and it's going to continue to create more opportunities in the future. We live in a world full of code. Everything you pretty much use is built using code, built off code. Software engineers, our jobs is to make applications to make your life more productive. I don't want to say easier, it's more productive. The goal is to create software to help make you productive. Even the social media tools that we use, I think in a sense it can help with productivity, especially if you're networking with other groups or teams. But as human beings, we sometimes abuse technology, and we let technology control us when really we're supposed to control technology. We create applications to give the user control, but a lot of times the users, I don't think they realize you're in control, but don't let technology control you. So don't let apps and certain apps be a distraction. Games, don't let that be a distraction. Still, focus on being productive. And that's the kind of software I try to build. I try to build software to help people be productive. I don't want to just build an app just to build an app. There's a purpose for every app that I create. It's based off an idea. No matter how simple the app is, I always, I believe it's a purpose, so I build it. So yeah, a lot's changed in the last 10 years. JavaScript has become popular. Python, artificial intelligence. Last decade we heard, artificial intelligence is coming, it's coming. Well, guess what? It's here. Artificial intelligence is here. It's not coming, it's not the future. The future is today. A lot of applications, a lot of companies are using machine learning and artificial intelligence capabilities. I'm looking to implement that more into my company, into my brand, into my software in the future. I'm going to learn more about AI, machine learning, deep learning. I really want to challenge myself and become a better software engineer, a better developer. There's so much to learn, so much to learn. And, I think it's really cool that, we're pretty much living in a sci-fi world. You have a lot of, voice assistants. You have Siri, you have Cortana, you have Google Assistant, you have Amazon Alexa. Just think about it. You can talk to your device and say, hey, well, I'm not going to say it now because I'm actually right by a Google device and I don't want it to trigger. And it just did because I said the name. So you might hear her speak in the background. Okay, she didn't say anything. But yeah, I think that's cool. You can say, hey, play this, play that. And it does it. It can remind you of appointments. We live in a sci-fi world now, and it's just going to get even better. Robots. You're going to see more robots. I do predict a lot of jobs will be replaced, but I think AI will create more jobs. You hear a lot in the media, the propaganda that, artificial intelligence is going to eliminate jobs. People are going to be unemployed. And yes, that will happen in some instances, but I do believe it will also create more jobs, and I believe people will learn more skills. And I think that's why, even the government, I think in the Obama administration pushed to really start learning to write code. Obama really pushed it. You have a lot of courses now. You don't even have to go to college to learn how to code. You can just go online and pick a course. You can sign up for an online course and learn a language and just build projects. You can be a freelancer. So it's going to create a lot of opportunities because there are some things robots will not be able to do. In my opinion, there are still certain tasks you're going to need a human to program these robots. So if you're really serious about it, learn the code. And I think what's going to happen is most people who have current job positions, they're going to be forced to learn how to code. So it's going to be a skill that companies will pay for. And I think people will write small, simple code to do to perform simple tasks. I think that will happen. I just think it will create more opportunities. I'm excited for AI. You know, you have a lot of conspiracy theorists. You have the propaganda in the media, the mainstream media. You have a lot of documentaries, artificial intelligence. Oh, we're going to be done. I mean, the best example I can give you is you look at bank tellers, right? You know, we have ATM machines. You have online banking. So when you go to a bank now, bank tellers' roles are a little different. They just have their roles are more defined. You know, you don't just go to the bank necessarily to get money. You know, they offer other services too. So I just think things will evolve. I do think some jobs will be lost. You know, we got to be realistic. Some jobs will be replaced, but I think more jobs will be created. It's just up to the individual to learn and adapt very quickly. So for me, you know, as I reflected over the last 10 years, the first 5 years of the last decade were I really grind really hard. Once I started learning coding and got my first job, got a couple contracts, you know, I really just went hard. And then it kind of went rough in 2015, towards the end of 2015, and the last 5 years have been kind of challenging because health issues and, you know, starting my own company and trying to figure things out. And I'm still learning, but I've had a lot of lessons over the last couple of years, and I know what to do now to do better and to make sure I stay focused, to make sure I'm healthy, and continue to create apps, build my brand. I want to build apps for companies. That's my main goal, is to really push to build apps for companies. I have a lot of proprietary apps that I'm working on that I won't release to the public, but I will share to pitch to different companies if they want to implement this system. So that's what I'm working on. Over the weekend, well, not the weekend, but over the holiday, my apps did really well. My basketball playbook, hockey playbook did really well. Those are my two most successful apps as far as paid apps. Those are my only two paid apps. I just made my wedding app a paid app again, and it's on sale in the Microsoft Store for 99 cents. Think about that, 99 cents, and it's free on Android and the web, weddingbudgetapp.com. So those apps have been doing well. My basketball playbook app has been a top paid app in the sports category in the Microsoft Store for the last 4 months. It's doing really well. I've received great feedback from my customers, and I'm working on more features. More features are coming soon, and I can't wait to share that with you all. My most successful apps, free apps: film production budget, wedding budget planner. My economics calculator does really good in ad revenue. I think my vehicle maintenance log does pretty decent. But I'm looking to really make those apps better to increase the revenue and usability of the apps, because we live in a day now where users are downloading apps but not as much, and if they do download your app, you want to give them a reason to keep your app. So that's why I believe in creating apps that are connected to multiple devices. So if you build an app on Android, you know, you might have an iOS device in the home. Maybe they can log in and view their data on the web, on their tablet. So pretty much the mobile development has matured to where you can just release on multiple platforms and all apps are in sync with each other, and that's what users like. So what they can do on their computer, they want to be able to do on their phone. And I think that should be in sync with one another. And that's my goal, and that's the vision I have for my apps. For most of my apps, I'm not going to say all of my apps, but most of my apps, most new apps that I design, I want to make sure I make a desktop companion for that app. So that's my goal as far as releasing consumer apps. And as far as creating apps in this decade, again, 10 years ago, the app stores were, 10 years ago, you could probably release a horrible app and make a lot of money. Those days are gone. Those days pretty much were gone. Probably 2015, probably 5 years ago. 5 or 6 years ago was when, the app stores really started to mature. And I still think there are room for apps, and I know people say, people are not downloading apps. Again, things are evolving. So now you have progressive web apps, PWAs, where you can make a web app and you can wrap it in a browser, and the app can have native capabilities. So users do not have to install the app on their device. A lot of companies have been trying this. Instagram, Twitter, the New York Times, some restaurants, fast food places, Starbucks, their websites are PWA now. So I just think things are evolving. I think native apps will have a place, but I think native apps will be if you want to just have that native experience and you want to really use the hardware of that device operating system. Also, too, what I'm realizing when you're building native apps and you need to connect to the web, and you use a REST API, sometimes loading data is really, really slow. It's really slow. I notice it with Spotify. I notice it in some of the apps I create. But when you use it on the web, it's faster. So I just think the web is just going to be the place to use apps. And, you have to figure out how to monetize your web app. Advertisements. You can do in-app purchases. I think you can use a PayPal to do in-app purchases or subscription model, depending on what the app is. But I think app development, as far as independent app development, whether it's games or just productivity apps, it's just evolved. You just have to really release a good app. It's not even just about just putting it in the store. You have to really plan and the right documentation, marketing strategy. You have to really study it. Social media, engagement. You have to try different monetization strategies. I tell you, when you release an app, it's a business. I'm just really realizing, I have a lot of apps, but the apps that are making me the most money, which is my basketball playbook and hockey playbook, I focus on those more because those are paying customers. So I'm always working on new features. It's not like, release this app on to the next. If I have a good week or a good day where I don't receive emails to fix bugs or customer requests, then I can work on a new project. But again, stuff comes up. So if you're starting out as an app developer, independent app developer, don't get discouraged. If you don't get a lot of downloads your first week, it takes time. Build an audience. Make sure you add a feedback loop in your app so customers can reach you, because a lot of times people, they don't go through the app store and send an email. So make sure you have like a contact form or feedback form where your customers can reach you. So yeah, I think that it's just everything's evolved. Technology, we have more devices now, so we'll create apps for more devices. I'm looking forward to the Surface Duo and Neo. I'm looking forward to foldable devices. It'll be cool to create applications for foldable devices. I just think we've matured from just creating apps just for the phone. It's about multiple devices, cars, your home, Internet of Things. It's a great time to be a software developer. It's a great time to start a company. Find something, find a niche. You might want to create an AI company. You might want to create a software company strictly focuses on artificial intelligence, machine learning, data, and license your product to enterprises. I think that's the best way to make money, is to create software for enterprises. That's the future, because most businesses will need an app, and most businesses are hesitant to spend money on an app because of the cost. But with the technology that you can use to build these apps, you don't have to charge them for an iOS native version or an Android native version. You can create the app with a cross-platform tool, and that'll save them some money and save you some time, depending how you're pricing, what your pricing structure is. So I just think it's a great time. I'm optimistic, as an indie dev. Things are getting better. I'm always learning. I learn every day. It's a daily grind, pretty much 7 days a week. Now, I don't believe in team no sleep, 2-3 hours of sleep. Now, you got to get rest, but every day there's always something to do. So even on the weekends, whether it's documentation or planning for the next project or projects, or doing this podcast, or researching, learning a new technology, you're always going to be working. It's a competitive world out here, and especially on a global standpoint, especially when you're distributing software online, you're not only competing in your local area, but you're competing worldwide. So it's exciting, and not even just for software developers, but I think for everyone who does business online, e-commerce. Things are just going to evolve. Again, a lot of jobs, work from home jobs. I see that in this decade. I know it's not like I'm being a prophet, but I'm just giving my opinion. These are just educated opinions based on things I read, and I'm in the industry, so I see a lot, and I kind of can see where things are going. I don't think Java's dead. I don't get on the bandwagon of a certain technology is dead. Every technology is useful. It's all about using the tool for the right job. I just think the more modern languages, the more functional languages are trendy because it's quick. It does do a lot of things that compiled languages can do, but and it gets the job done. So it's going to be a good year. It's going to be a good decade. You just have to continue to grind, and always remember, your passion should be your entertainment. And that's the motto here at Apavelli. Our passion is our entertainment. My passion is my entertainment. Meaning, what consumes me is my passion, not watching someone else build their passion. So you want to be a producer, and be more of a producer and less of a consumer. That's the philosophy you should live your life by. Well, I think you should live your life by, or we should live our lives by, is being focused on our passion. Some might disagree, but that's okay. We can agree to disagree. But I believe to be successful, you got to have a purpose and passion, and it has to consume you. And all the other distractions that's going on in the world, or people in your life who don't add any value, you can't continue to make them relevant, or make outside entities relevant. You have to focus on you and building your brand, and be around people that can help you build your brand. Be around people that add some value in your life. So you can follow me on Instagram at Apavelli. You can follow me on Twitter at Apavelli. Visit www.apavelli.com to subscribe to the podcast. And if you're listening to the podcast, please if you're on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, if you can leave a review, 5-star review, feedback, please. I welcome the feedback. If you want to hear about certain topics, if you want to hear about technologies, if you want me to do a video tutorial along with the podcast, I'm all for it. So please subscribe to the podcast, share the podcast. You know, I love podcasts, and that's why I decided to do this podcast. So that's it for this episode. Stay wired in, and I am out.